In the cold silence of space, a fragile thread held humanity's alliance with the Krylosian Empire together. For years, Earth had bent over backward to keep the peace, sending diplomats and gifts in hopes of maintaining a shaky truce. But today, that thread snapped. Ambassador Laura Bennett stood in the grand hall of the Krylosian flagship Ecliptor *, her hands trembling slightly as she unfolded Earth's latest plea for cooperation. Around her, towering alien figures with shimmering silver skin watched with expressions of disdain. Their eyes glowed faintly, their movements deliberate and cold. Laura cleared her throat, trying to steady her voice. "We seek only peace," she began, reading from the prepared statement. "Humanity wishes to coexist, to trade, and to learn from your great empire." Her words echoed through the chamber, met with eerie silence. Then laughter erupted. It started with one Krylosian, a deep rumbling sound like distant thunder, and soon spread across the room. Even High Chancellor Zorath joined in, his booming laugh shaking the very air. "You wish to coexist," Zorath finally said, leaning forward in his throne-like seat. His voice was sharp, cutting through the lingering chuckles of his advisors. "You are insects compared to us. Your ships are primitive, your weapons laughable. You dare ask for peace when you cannot even defend yourselves." Laura felt heat rising to her cheeks. She clenched her fists at her sides, forcing herself to remain composed. "We may not have your technology," she replied, "but we have something more important: determination. We will protect our people, no matter what it takes." Zorath leaned back, his lips curling into a cruel smile. "Determination," he repeated mockingly. "How quaint. If you want war, little human, we will bring you war. And when your cities burn, and your skies fill with our ships, perhaps then you will understand your place." The meeting ended abruptly after that, with Laura escorted off the Ecliptor * under heavy guard. As she stepped onto the transport shuttle bound for Earth, she couldn't shake the image of Zorath's smug face. The weight of his words pressed down on her shoulders. Back home, news of the failed negotiations spread quickly. Panic gripped the population, and protests erupted in major cities. People demanded answers and action. General Rachel Monroe sat alone in her office late that night, staring at the reports sent by Laura. A holographic map of Earth floated above her desk, dotted with red markers indicating potential invasion zones. Rachel sighed, rubbing her temples. Born and raised in a small town in Ohio, she had always believed in finding peaceful solutions. But now, faced with the arrogance of the Krylosians, she realized diplomacy had its limits. Her assistant entered quietly, placing a cup of coffee beside her. "Ma'am, the president wants to see you tomorrow morning," he said softly. Rachel nodded without looking up. She already knew what this meant. Humanity needed someone to lead them, not just in strategy, but in spirit, someone who could remind them why they were worth fighting for. By dawn, Rachel was standing before President Jonathan Hayes in the Situation Room. Maps, charts, and projections covered every surface, painting a grim picture of Earth's chances against the Krylosian fleet. Hayes looked at her, his expression weary but resolute. "Rachel," he said, "we need a miracle. Can you give us one?" She hesitated only for a moment before answering. "Mr. President, miracles don't win wars. People do. And if the Krylosians think they can crush us without a fight, they're about to learn otherwise." As Rachel left the room, her mind raced with plans and possibilities. She thought of her brother Daniel, who had always teased her for being too cautious. "Sometimes, Ratch," he used to say, "you gotta stop thinking and start doing." Maybe he was right. This wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. It was about proving to the galaxy that humanity wasn't afraid to stand its ground. The Empire had laughed at them, but laughter wouldn't save them when the storm hit. Rachel Monroe walked briskly down the long, dimly lit corridor of Earth's Central Military Command Center. The weight of what lay ahead pressed on her shoulders, but she refused to let it show. Her boots clicked against the metal floor, echoing in the quiet hallway. She had spent years climbing the ranks, proving herself in battles both small and large. Yet nothing compared to this. This wasn't just another mission. It was humanity's last stand. Her first stop was Hangar 12, where Captain Alex Carter was running drills with his squadron. Alex was known for being reckless, but also undeniably talented. His jet-black hair stuck out from under his helmet as he climbed out of his fighter craft, sweat glistening on his forehead. "General," he said with a quick salute, "what brings you here?" "I need your best pilots ready," Rachel replied, her tone firm but calm. "We're going to hit them hard and fast. No room for error." Alex nodded, though his brow furrowed. "You know we're outnumbered, right? Their ships are faster, stronger." "I'm aware," Rachel interrupted. "But speed and strength aren't everything. We've got something they don't: adaptability. And that's going to be our edge." From there, Rachel made her way to the research lab, where Dr. Emily Torres was hunched over a cluttered workstation. Blueprints and schematics covered every available surface, and the faint hum of machinery filled the air. Emily looked up as Rachel entered, pushing her glasses further up her nose. "General," she said, gesturing to the chaos around her, "I hope you're not expecting miracles." "Not miracles," Rachel said with a small smile. "Just results." Emily sighed, shaking her head. "Fine. I've been working on modifying some old energy weapons we salvaged from alien wreckage. If I can boost their power output, they might stand a chance against Krylosian shields. But it's risky. One wrong calculation, and the whole thing could blow up in our faces." "We'll take the risk," Rachel said without hesitation. "Do whatever it takes." Next, Rachel sought out Lieutenant Marcus Kane, a grizzled veteran with more scars than most soldiers had stories. He sat alone in the mess hall, nursing a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. When Rachel approached, he gave her a wary look. "You here to tell me how we're all gonna die?" he asked bluntly. "No," Rachel said, pulling out a chair to sit across from him. "I'm here to ask for your help. You've seen war before, Marcus. You know how to survive. I need someone like you to train the younger recruits, to teach them what real combat looks like." Marcus snorted. "And what exactly does real combat look like, General?" "Running scared while the enemy rains fire down on us." Rachel leaned forward, her voice steady. "It looks like standing your ground when everyone else is telling you to run. It looks like finding a way to win, even when the odds are stacked against you. That's who we are, Marcus. That's what makes us human." For a moment, Marcus didn't respond. Then, slowly he nodded. "All right, General. You've got my support. But don't expect me to sugarcoat anything." "That's fine," Rachel said, rising to her feet. "I'd rather have honesty than empty promises." As the days passed, Rachel worked tirelessly to bring her team together. She organized strategy sessions, reviewed intel, and pushed everyone to their limits. There were moments of doubt, of course. Late at night, when the lights were low and the halls were silent, she allowed herself to wonder if they truly stood a chance. The Krylosians were powerful, their empire vast and unyielding. How could humanity possibly compete? But then she remembered Daniel, her younger brother, who had always believed in her even when she doubted herself. "Ratch," he used to say, "you've got this. You've always got this." Thinking of him now gave her strength. She wasn't fighting just for Earth or for survival. She was fighting for every person who had ever been told they weren't good enough. For every dream crushed under the boot of arrogance. The Empire had laughed at them. They thought humanity weak, insignificant. But Rachel knew better. Humans weren't defined by their size or their technology. They were defined by their spirit, the relentless drive to keep moving forward, no matter what. And soon, the Krylosians would learn that lesson the hard way. The days turned into weeks as Rachel Monroe and her team worked around the clock to prepare for the inevitable clash with the Krylosians. The command center buzzed with activity, a hive of engineers, pilots, and strategists all focused on one goal: survival. Rachel moved through the chaos like a steady anchor, her calm demeanor inspiring confidence in those around her. She knew they were racing against time, but she refused to let panic take hold. In Hangar 12, Captain Alex Carter pushed his squadron harder than ever before. The pilots trained relentlessly, practicing evasive maneuvers and precision strikes in simulated battles against Krylosian ships. Alex barked orders over the comms, his voice sharp but encouraging. "Faster! Tighten your turns!" He shouted as a group of fighters dodged imaginary enemy fire. Sweat dripped down his face, but he didn't slow down. Every second counted. Meanwhile, Dr. Emily Torres made progress in the lab. Her energy weapon modifications were risky, but promising. Late one night, she called Rachel to the testing bay. "General," Emily said, her voice tinged with both excitement and nervousness, "I think we've got something." Rachel stepped closer as Emily activated the prototype weapon. A bright beam of energy shot out, piercing through a thick metal plate designed to mimic Krylosian shielding. The room fell silent as everyone watched the demonstration. Rachel's lips curved into a faint smile. "Good work, Doctor," she said. "Now how quickly can you replicate this?" "As fast as possible," Emily replied, already scribbling notes on her clipboard. "But I'll need more hands. And maybe a bit less sleep." Rachel chuckled softly. "You're not the only one." Elsewhere, Lieutenant Marcus Kane drilled the recruits with unrelenting intensity. He barked commands during live-fire exercises, forcing them to think on their feet. "The Krylosians won't give you time to hesitate," he yelled as a young soldier fumbled with his rifle. "If you freeze, you're dead. Keep moving." At first, the recruits struggled under Marcus's tough methods. Some complained about his harshness, but Rachel supported him fully. "They need to be ready," she told the higher-ups when concerns were raised. "Marcus is preparing them for the battlefield, not a parade." Despite the pressure, small moments of camaraderie began to emerge. After long hours of training, Alex joined Marcus and a few others in the mess hall for a rare break. They shared stories, laughed at old jokes, and even debated which Earth food was the best to miss if supplies ran low. For a brief moment, the looming threat of war felt distant. Rachel noticed these bonds forming and encouraged them. "We're stronger together," she reminded her team during a meeting. "This isn't just about weapons or tactics. It's about trust. About knowing that the person next to you will have your back no matter what." Still, there were challenges. Supplies were running low, and tensions flared among some crew members. One evening, an argument broke out between two engineers over resource allocation. Rachel intervened quickly, her voice firm but fair. "We don't have time for infighting," she said. "Every second you waste arguing is a second the Krylosians use to plan their attack. Focus on what matters." As preparations continued, Rachel found herself reflecting on the bigger picture. She thought about the people back on Earth, families huddled in shelters, children looking up at the stars with fear instead of wonder. This fight wasn't just for soldiers or leaders. It was for everyone who called Earth home. One night, as Rachel stood alone in the observation deck, staring out at the vast expanse of space, Alex approached her. "You all right, General?" he asked quietly. She nodded, her gaze fixed on the distant stars. "Just thinking," she said, "about what's waiting for us out there." Alex followed her gaze. "They think we're nothing," he said. "That will roll over and let them win." Rachel turned to him, her expression resolute. "Let them think that. Because when the time comes, we'll show them exactly who we are." And with that, she walked away, leaving Alex to stare at the stars. The Empire had laughed at humanity, dismissed them as weak. But deep down, Rachel knew they had no idea what they were up against. The first warning came in the form of a faint blip on the radar, a cluster of unidentified ships moving rapidly toward Earth's orbit. Rachel Monroe stood in the command center, her eyes glued to the holographic display as the dots grew larger and more distinct. The Krylosians weren't wasting any time. Their message was clear. Humanity's defiance would come at a cost. "General," An officer called out, his voice tense. "They're targeting New Chicago." Rachel's heart sank. New Chicago wasn't just another orbital colony. It was home to millions of civilians, a bustling hub of trade and culture. If the Krylosians attacked there, the loss of life would be catastrophic. She clenched her fists briefly before issuing orders. "Send out every available ship to intercept them," she said firmly. "We can't let them reach the colony." Captain Alex Carter was already suiting up when the alert sounded. He moved with practiced efficiency, strapping on his helmet and climbing into his fighter craft. Around him, pilots scrambled to their ships, engines roaring to life. Alex's squadron, nicknamed the Shadow Hawks, was among the first to launch. As they sped toward the enemy fleet, Alex's mind raced. This wasn't a drill anymore. It was real. The Krylosian ships loomed ahead, massive and menacing. Their sleek designs gleamed under the light of a distant star, each vessel bristling with weapons. Alex swallowed hard but kept his focus. "All right, Shadowhawks," he said over the comms. "Stick to the plan. Hit hard, hit fast, and don't let them surround you." The battle erupted in an explosion of light and sound. Energy beams streaked across the void as human fighters darted between the larger Krylosian cruisers. Alex led his team in a daring assault, weaving through enemy fire with precision. For a moment, it seemed like they might actually hold their own. But then the Krylosians retaliated with overwhelming force. One by one, human ships were picked off, their wreckage drifting silently into the darkness. Back at the command center, Rachel watched the battle unfold on the screens. Her knuckles turned white as she gripped the edge of the console. "Pull them back," she ordered. "We can't afford to lose more fighters." Reluctantly, Alex signaled for retreat. His squadron limped back to base, battered but alive. The damage had been done, though. The Krylosians broke through the defensive line and descended upon New Chicago. Explosions lit up the colony's skyline as buildings crumbled and evacuation alarms wailed. Thousands perished in the initial assault, and panic spread like wildfire. Rachel's face hardened as reports poured in. "This isn't over," she said to her staff. "We'll make them pay for this." In the aftermath of the attack, Rachel devised a new strategy. Instead of facing the Krylosians head-on, she decided to strike where it hurt most: their supply lines. Using intel gathered during the battle, she identified a key Krylosian logistics ship stationed near the edge of the conflict zone. If they could disable it, they'd cripple the enemy's ability to resupply their fleet. Alex volunteered to lead the mission. "Let me take a small team," he said. "We'll sneak in, plant explosives, and get out before they even know we're there." Rachel hesitated but eventually agreed. "Be careful," she told him. "If anything goes wrong." "It won't," Alex interrupted with a confident grin. "Trust me." Under the cover of darkness, Alex and his team launched from a hangar. They flew in silence, keeping to the shadows of nearby asteroids. When they reached the logistics ship, they deployed stealth drones to disable its outer defenses. Then, clad in Krylosian-style armor scavenged from earlier battles, they boarded the vessel. Inside, the corridors were eerily quiet. Alex motioned for his team to split up, planting charges at critical junctions. Just as they finished, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Move!" Alex shouted, sprinting toward the exit. They barely made it out in time. Behind them, the logistics ship erupted in a fiery blast, debris scattering across space. Back at the command center, Rachel allowed herself a small smile. It was a victory, however small. The Krylosians wouldn't laugh so easily next time. The destruction of the Krylosian logistics ship was a win, but Rachel Monroe knew it wasn't enough. The enemy fleet was still vast, their resources seemingly endless. The attack on New Chicago had left humanity shaken, and fear spread like wildfire across Earth. Every news broadcast showed images of burning cities and fleeing civilians. People looked to their leaders for answers, and Rachel felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on her. Late one night, Rachel stood alone in the war room, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. She traced the glowing red markers that represented Krylosian strongholds. There were too many of them. No matter how hard they fought, humanity couldn't match the Empire's sheer size and power. But then, an idea began to form in her mind. An idea so bold, so dangerous, that it might just work. The next morning, Rachel called a meeting with her closest advisors. Alex Carter, Dr. Emily Torres, Lieutenant Marcus Kane, and a few others gathered around the table. Rachel wasted no time. "We need to hit them where it hurts the most," she said. "Their homeworld." The room fell silent. Everyone exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, Marcus spoke up. "You're talking about suicide," he said bluntly. "Even if we get there, how do we survive long enough to do anything?" Rachel nodded. "I know it's risky. But think about it. If we can sabotage their central command hub, the heart of their operations, we'll cripple their entire empire. Without leadership, their fleet will fall apart." Alex leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "It's not impossible," he said slowly. "But we'd need a small team. Something fast and stealthy. A full-scale assault would never work." Dr. Emily Torres chimed in. "And we'd need better tech. Those energy weapons I've been working on, they could give us an edge against their defenses." Rachel turned to Alex. "Can you lead this mission?" Alex hesitated. He glanced at the faces around the table, then back at Rachel. "I'll do it," he said finally, "but I'll need the best people with me." Rachel nodded. "Pick your team carefully. You'll take Dr. Torres for tech support and Lieutenant Kane for combat expertise. We'll also assign Samantha Brooks, our top covered ops specialist. She's the best at staying unseen." Over the next few days, the team prepared for the mission. They studied maps of the Krylosian homeworld, memorizing every detail of its terrain and defenses. Dr. Torres worked tirelessly to modify their weapons and armor, ensuring they could withstand the harsh conditions of the alien planet. Marcus drilled the team in hand-to-hand combat, teaching them how to fight silently and efficiently. Samantha, meanwhile, devised strategies for infiltration, mapping out routes through the enemy stronghold. As the launch date approached, Rachel pulled Alex aside. "This mission is critical," she said. "If you succeed, we might have a chance. If you fail," she trailed off, her voice heavy with unspoken words. "We won't fail," Alex said firmly. "Not after everything we've lost." On the day of the mission, the team gathered in Hangar 12. Their ship, a sleek black vessel designed for stealth, waited silently on the launch pad. Rachel addressed them one last time. "You're carrying the hopes of humanity with you," she said. "Remember why we're doing this. Remember who we're fighting for." The team boarded the ship without another word. As the engines roared to life, Alex took a deep breath. This was it, the mission that could change everything, or end it all. Hours later, the ship slipped into Krylosian space, avoiding detection thanks to its advanced cloaking technology. The team watched as the alien homeworld came into view, a sprawling metropolis of towering spires and glowing structures. It was beautiful, yet cold and unwelcoming. "This is it," Alex said quietly. "Let's move." They landed in a remote area far from the main city, disguising themselves in captured Krylosian uniforms. Armed with modified weapons and nerves of steel, they set out toward the central command hub. Each step brought them closer to danger, but none of them hesitated. They had a job to do, and failure wasn't an option. The Empire had laughed at humanity once. Now, it was time to show them that laughter came at a price. The team moved cautiously through the shadowy streets of the Krylosian homeworld, their stolen uniforms blending them into the alien crowds. Alex Carter led the way, his eyes scanning every corner for signs of trouble. Dr. Emily Torres followed close behind, clutching a small device that monitored their cloaking tech. Lieutenant Marcus Kane brought up the rear, his hand resting on the hilt of his weapon, ready for anything. Samantha Brooks had memorized the route to the central command hub, and she guided them with quiet confidence. "Turn left here," she whispered, pointing to a narrow alley between two towering spires. The group slipped into the shadows, avoiding the gaze of patrolling guards. Every step felt like walking on thin ice, but they pressed forward, driven by the knowledge that failure wasn't an option. As they approached the command hub, the architecture grew more imposing. The building was a fortress, its walls lined with glowing energy barriers and armed sentries stationed at every entrance. Samantha crouched behind a stack of crates, studying the scene. "We'll need a distraction," she said softly, "something to draw their attention away from the main gate." Alex nodded. "I'll handle it. You three find another way in." Before anyone could argue, Alex stepped out into the open, deliberately making noise. He knocked over a nearby trash bin, the clatter echoing loudly in the quiet street. Instantly, two Chrylosian guards turned toward him, their weapons raised. Alex sprinted down the alley, leading them away from the others. His heart pounded as he zigzagged through the maze-like streets, knowing he couldn't let them catch him. Not yet. Meanwhile, Samantha guided Emily and Marcus to a service entrance at the rear of the command hub. Using her lock-picking skills, she disabled the security panel and slipped inside. The interior was dimly lit, with humming machinery and flickering control panels lining the walls. Emily immediately got to work, connecting her device to the nearest terminal. Her fingers flew across the screen as she bypassed layers of encryption. "This is incredible," she muttered under her breath. "Their systems are so advanced, but predictable." Within moments, she had accessed the mainframe. "I can plant a virus here," she said. "It'll disable their communications and shut down parts of their defense grid." "Do it," Marcus ordered. "But hurry. We don't have much time." While Emily worked, Samantha and Marcus kept watch. They heard distant footsteps and ducked behind a row of storage crates. A group of Chrylosian soldiers passed by, their glowing eyes scanning the area. Samantha held her breath, her hand tightening around the hilt of her knife. When the soldiers finally moved on, she exhaled silently. Back outside, Alex was still leading his pursuers on a wild chase. He darted into an empty warehouse, hiding behind a stack of crates. The guards entered cautiously, their weapons drawn. Just as one of them spotted him, Alex lunged forward, tackling the nearest soldier. The fight was quick but brutal. Alex managed to knock both guards unconscious, though not without taking a few hits himself. Blood trickled from a cut above his eyebrow, but he ignored the pain. He had to get back to the others. Inside the command hub, Emily finished planting the virus. "It's done," she said. "Let's move." As they made their way toward the exit, alarms suddenly blared throughout the building. Red lights flashed, casting eerie shadows on the walls. "They know we're here," Marcus shouted. The team ran, their footsteps echoing in the narrow corridors. Ahead, Alex appeared, battered but alive. "Go," he yelled, gesturing for them to follow him. They burst out into the night, sprinting toward their ship. Behind them, Chrylosian reinforcements poured out of the command hub, firing energy beams that narrowly missed their targets. Reaching the vessel, Samantha climbed aboard first, quickly powering up the engines. Alex helped Emily and Marcus inside before jumping in himself. "Take off," he shouted. The ship lifted off just as the enemy closed in. Energy blasts streaked past them, rocking the craft violently. For a moment, it seemed like they wouldn't make it. Then the cloaking device engaged, and the ship vanished from sight. As they soared into space, Alex looked back at the fading glow of the Chrylosian homeworld. "Mission accomplished," he said, his voice heavy with exhaustion. But they all knew the hardest part was yet to come. The team's ship raced through the darkness of space, its cloaking device masking their escape. Inside, the air was tense but triumphant. Alex Carter leaned back in his seat, wiping blood from his forehead as the adrenaline began to wear off. Dr. Emily Torres sat hunched over her device, monitoring the virus she had planted in the Chrylosian command hub. "It's working," she said, her voice tinged with relief. Their systems are shutting down piece by piece. Lieutenant Marcus Kane stared out the viewport, his jaw tight. "Good job," he muttered, though his tone suggested he wasn't ready to celebrate just yet. Samantha Brooks, sitting quietly in the corner, checked her weapons and reloaded them methodically. She knew better than anyone that escaping the Krylosian homeworld didn't mean they were safe. "Don't relax yet," Alex said, reading the mood. "We still have to get back to Earth, and the Krylosians will be hunting us." As if on cue, the ship shuddered violently. Warning lights flashed across the cockpit, and a loud alarm blared. "They found us," Samantha shouted, gripping her seat. A squadron of Krylosian fighters had appeared, their sleek ships closing in fast. Alex took the controls, weaving the vessel through a field of asteroids to evade enemy fire. Energy beams streaked past them, narrowly missing the hull. "Hold on," he yelled as he pushed the engines to their limit. The ship groaned under the strain, but it held together, for now. "We can't keep this up forever," Marcus growled. "What's the plan?" Emily glanced at the radar. "There's a moon nearby with dense terrain. If we can land there, we might lose them." "Do it," Alex said without hesitation. He adjusted course, heading toward the moon's surface. The rocky landscape loomed ahead, jagged and unforgiving. Alex brought the ship down hard, skidding across the dusty ground before coming to a stop in the shadow of a massive crater. Outside, the silence was eerie. The team disembarked cautiously, scanning the area for signs of pursuit. "We need to set explosives," Samantha said. "If they follow us here, we'll need a way to slow them down." Marcus nodded. "I'll help you plant charges. Alex, you and Emily stay with the ship. Make sure it's ready to go when we're done." While Marcus and Samantha worked, Alex and Emily kept watch. Emily fidgeted nervously, clutching her device. "Do you think this will actually work?" she asked. "Disabling their systems, I mean, what if it's not enough?" "It's enough," Alex said firmly. "Every little thing we do weakens them. We just have to keep pushing." Minutes later, Marcus and Samantha returned, breathing heavily. "Charges are set," Samantha reported. "Let's move." They climbed back into the ship and lifted off, leaving the moon behind. As they ascended, the explosives detonated below, sending a cascade of debris into the Krylosian fighters that had landed to investigate. One by one, the enemy ships were crushed or disabled. Back in space, the team allowed themselves a brief moment of relief. But it was short-lived. Emily's device beeped urgently. "The virus is spreading faster than I expected," she said. "It's reaching their fleet now. Ships are going dark all over the system." "That's our opening," Alex said, determination in his voice. "Rachel needs to know about this. It's time to hit them with everything we've got." Hours later, the team approached Earth's orbit. Their ship was battered and scorched, but they had made it. Rachel Monroe greeted them personally as they disembarked. Her face lit up with a mix of pride and urgency. "You did it," she said. "Now it's our turn." Alex stepped forward. "General, their command hub is down, and their fleet is crippled. This is our chance to end this." Rachel nodded. "Prepare for battle. Every ship, every soldier, we're going to finish this once and for all." As the team dispersed to carry out her orders, Rachel turned to look at the stars. The Empire had laughed at humanity, dismissed them as weak. But now, the tables had turned. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for victory, and Rachel knew they wouldn't stop until it was theirs. The skies above Earth were filled with the hum of engines as humanity's fleet prepared for the final battle. Rachel Monroe stood on the bridge of the command ship, her eyes scanning the rows of monitors displaying the positions of their forces. Every available vessel, battle cruisers, fighters, and even retrofitted cargo ships, had been mobilized. The Krylosian fleet loomed in the distance, a sea of sleek, menacing ships that dwarfed anything humanity had to offer. But Rachel didn't flinch. She knew this wasn't just about numbers or firepower. It was about heart. "General," an officer called out, breaking her focus. "All squadrons are in position. Captain Carter is ready to lead the first wave." Rachel nodded. "Tell him to hold until my signal. We'll strike together, every ship, every weapon. No hesitation." On board his fighter craft, Alex Carter adjusted his helmet and gripped the controls tightly. Around him, pilots exchanged nervous chatter over the comms. "Stay sharp," Alex said, his voice steady. "Remember what we're fighting for. This isn't just about us. It's about everyone back home." Back on the command ship, Rachel addressed her troops one last time. Her voice carried through the comm system, reaching every corner of the fleet. "Today, we stand united," she began. "The Krylosians thought we were weak. They laughed at us, dismissed us as insignificant. But they underestimated who we are. We are humans. We adapt, we endure, and we fight. Not because we want to, but because we must. For our families, for our future, for Earth itself. Today, we show them exactly what that means." Her words sparked a fire in the hearts of those listening. Pilots straightened in their seats, soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons, and engineers double-checked their systems. Humanity was outnumbered and outgunned, but they weren't afraid anymore. The battle began with a deafening roar. Energy beams crisscrossed the void as human ships surged forward, swarming the Krylosian fleet like insects attacking a predator. Alex led his squadron in daring strafing runs, targeting the larger enemy cruisers' vulnerable points. Their modified weapons pierced through Krylosian shields, causing explosions that lit up the darkness. Rachel watched from the command ship, issuing orders with precision. "Focus on their carriers," she shouted. "Take out their support ships, and we'll weaken their entire line." The Krylosians retaliated fiercely, their superior technology tearing through several human vessels. Explosions bloomed across the battlefield, debris scattering into the void. Despite the losses, Rachel's forces pressed on, using speed and unpredictability to their advantage. Lieutenant Marcus Kane coordinated ground-based missile strikes from orbit, targeting key enemy positions and forcing them to divert resources. Dr. Emily Torres monitored the effects of her virus from the safety of the command ship. "Their systems are failing faster than expected," she reported. "Shields are down on nearly half their fleet." "This is our chance," Rachel said, her voice sharp. "Push forward. Don't let them regroup." As the battle raged, Alex spotted an opportunity. A massive Krylosian flagship, their main command vessel, was struggling to maintain its defenses. "Shadowhawks," he called over the comms. "Follow me. We're taking out their leader." With reckless determination, Alex and his squadron darted toward the flagship, dodging enemy fire and weaving between larger ships. One by one, they unleashed torpedoes and energy blasts, crippling the vessel's engines and weapons. The flagship listed dangerously, smoke billowing from its hull. Inside, High Chancellor Zoreth watched in disbelief as his once mighty fleet faltered. His glowing eyes narrowed in fury. "This isn't possible," he growled. "They're nothing but primitives." But the truth was undeniable. Humanity had proven itself more than a match for arrogance and cruelty. As Alex's squadron delivered the final blow to the flagship, Rachel's voice echoed across the battlefield. "Hold the line. Victory is within reach." The Empire had laughed at humanity, but now it was humanity's turn to decide their fate. The Krylosian flagship groaned under the relentless assault, its once imposing structure now battered and smoldering. Alex Carter led his squadron in one final push, their weapons trained on the heart of the enemy vessel. "This is it," Alex said over the comms, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "Hit them hard." Inside the flagship, High Chancellor Zoreth barked orders to his crew, his glowing eyes wild with desperation. "Activate emergency protocols," he shouted. "Divert all power to the shields." But it was too late. The virus planted by Dr. Emily Torres had crippled the ship's systems, leaving it vulnerable. Explosions rocked the command center as Alex's torpedoes struck true, tearing through what remained of the shields. Smoke filled the air, and sparks rained down from damaged control panels. Seeing an opening, Alex broke formation and flew straight toward the flagship's bridge. "I'm going in," he announced. "Cover me." "Alex, no." Marcus Kane's voice crackled over the comms. "It's too dangerous." "I didn't come this far to stop now," Alex replied. With a burst of speed, he guided his fighter craft into a docking bay, landing hard among the wreckage of destroyed Krylosian fighters. He leaped out of the cockpit, weapon in hand, and moved quickly through the corridors. The interior of the flagship was a scene of chaos. Alarms blared, and panicked Krylosian soldiers scrambled to respond to the attack. Alex fought his way forward, taking down enemies with precision shots and quick reflexes. Every step brought him closer to Zoreth, and closer to ending the war. Meanwhile, outside, Rachel Monroe coordinated the fleet's final assault. "Focus fire on their remaining cruisers," she ordered. "Don't let them regroup." Her voice carried authority, keeping the human forces united even as the battle raged on. Ships exploded around her, but the tide was turning. Humanity's ingenuity and determination were paying off. Back inside the flagship, Alex reached the bridge. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing Zoreth standing defiantly amidst the destruction. The High Chancellor sneered at Alex, his towering frame radiating menace. "You think you can defeat us?" Zoreth growled. "You are nothing compared to the glory of the Krylosian Empire." Alex raised his weapon, his finger hovering over the trigger. For a moment, he hesitated, not out of fear, but out of clarity. Killing Zoreth wouldn't end the cycle of violence. Instead, he lowered his gun slightly. "Your empire is crumbling," Alex said firmly. "Surrender, or we'll finish what we started." Zoreth laughed bitterly. "You humans are weak. You cling to hope when there is none." "No," Alex countered. "We fight for something better. And today, you'll learn what that means." With no other choice, Zoreth activated a distress signal, broadcasting his surrender to the entire fleet. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Stand down. The battle is lost." The message spread quickly, and the Krylosian ships began to retreat, their formations breaking apart. On board the human vessels, cheers erupted as the realization sank in. They had won. Against all odds, humanity had triumphed. Rachel watched the enemy fleet disappear into the distance, her chest swelling with pride. She turned to her crew. "We did it," she said softly. "We held the line." As the dust settled, Alex emerged from the flagship, his face streaked with soot, but his expression resolute. The weight of what they had achieved pressed on him, but he felt a quiet sense of peace. The Empire had laughed at humanity, but humanity had proven that laughter could turn to silence. Days after the battle, Earth began to heal. The scars of war were everywhere. Burned cities, broken families, and countless lives lost. But there was also a sense of hope. People gathered in streets and squares, celebrating not just victory, but survival. For the first time in years, the skies above Earth felt safe again. Rachel Monroe stood on the steps of the United Earth Council building, addressing a crowd that stretched as far as the eye could see. Her voice carried strength, but also warmth. "Today," she began, "we honor those who gave everything so we could stand here. They fought not because they wanted to, but because they believed in something greater than themselves. They believed in us." The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing through the city. Rachel paused, letting the moment sink in. She thought of all the sacrifices, the pilots who never returned, the engineers who worked until their hands bled, the soldiers who held the line no matter the cost. Humanity had won, but it hadn't come without pain. Among the crowd, Alex Carter stood quietly, his arms crossed. He watched Rachel speak, her words stirring emotions he wasn't ready to confront. Beside him, Dr. Emily Torres wiped tears from her eyes. "We did it," she whispered. "We actually did it." Marcus Kane nodded, though his expression remained somber. "Yeah," he said gruffly. "But don't forget what it took to get here." Nearby, Samantha Brooks leaned against a lamppost, her sharp gaze scanning the crowd. She didn't cheer or clap. Instead, she simply observed. This was humanity at its best, broken, scared, but unyielding. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to feel a flicker of pride. Back at the command center, Rachel met with President Jonathan Hayes. The president looked tired but relieved. "You've done the impossible, General," he said. "What happens now?" Rachel exhaled slowly. "Now, we rebuild. We've proven we can stand up to an empire, but that's only the beginning. We need to strengthen our alliances, protect our people, and make sure this never happens again." Hayes nodded. "And the Krylosians. They'll remember this day," Rachel said firmly. "They laughed at us once. Next time, they'll think twice before underestimating us." In the weeks that followed, Earth became a symbol of resilience. News of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy, earning respect from other species who had once dismissed them. Diplomatic envoys arrived, seeking partnerships and trade agreements. Humanity wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Rachel visited New Chicago, now a site of rebuilding and renewal. Workers cleared rubble, and architects sketched plans for new buildings. Children played among the ruins, their laughter cutting through the lingering sadness. Rachel knelt beside one little girl who held a broken toy spaceship. "What's this?" Rachel asked gently. "It's my ship," the girl replied with a grin. "Someday I'm going to fly it to the stars." Rachel smiled, ruffling the girl's hair. "I believe you will." As she walked away, Rachel looked up at the sky. The stars seemed brighter now, full of promise rather than threat. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and emerged stronger. They weren't defined by their fear or their losses. They were defined by their courage, their unity, and their refusal to give up. The Empire had laughed at them once. But laughter fades and legends endure. Humanity's story was just beginning.